Hello, I'm Geoff Kersey, and in this scene I'm going to do today, I've chosen a very iconic part of the London landscape. I've got Westminster and Big Ben in the distance, and on the left-hand side I've got the enormous feature of the London Eye, so it makes a very good L-shaped composition. The sun has come out from behind the clouds briefly and created quite a good silhouette, so it's quite an atmospheric scene. So as you can see, I've traced the scene out, and I'm now going to put some masking fluid onto certain areas where I know I'm going to want white paper later on. I'm starting with a medium-sized masking fluid brush and working from the left-hand side of the picture. Areas like this rooftop in the distance. I'm putting a line across the distance, a bit of shaping for this rail here. And on the ferry on the right-hand side. Just some masking fluid on there to protect the shape so I can paint in the distant buildings without worrying about losing the shape of the boat. And now I'm transferring to the small masking fluid brush. It's got a really fine point to it. I can be a lot more accurate. And I'm going to put the masking fluid on a few areas of the London Eye. Important when you're doing this not to overload the brush with masking fluid, or rather than a thin line, you'll suddenly get a blob. And I don't want to totally mask out the pods, but I just want to put a bit of masking fluid on the top of each one, which will enable me later on to make it appear as though they're really catching the light. So that's the masking complete. We just need to leave that to dry now before we start putting some paint on. So while that's drying, I'm going to mix some washes for the sky. I've got a number 16 brush, plenty of water, and I'm going to start by making a thin wash of Naples yellow with a touch of light red. Really wash the brush carefully after you've had Naples yellow on it before dip it in blue. And the next colour is cobalt blue with a little touch of rose madder to warm it slightly. And the final wash is cobalt blue again with rose madder again, slightly stronger this time. And then I'm going to add some burnt sienna to that to make a grey. Not a dull grey, I want it to be quite a warm grey. Okay, now I've mixed those. The next stage is to get a 1-inch flat brush, really load it up with clean water, and I'm going to take that clean water across the whole of the top 2/3 of the picture, right across the London Eye, right across the tree to the left of it, and working my way down with horizontal strokes, right down over the distant buildings to where I meet the masking fluid. Now that needs to be nice and evenly wet, but not dripping in water. It's just a nice even coating of water. Try and look for any dry bits where you may have missed some. And then immediately, I've got the number 16 brush again, and I'm picking up the mixture of Naples yellow and light red and laying that in across the bottom of the sky. Straight across the buildings. Straight across the London Eye. I'm going to add a touch more light red into it to slightly warm it and add a bit more of a glow. Clean the brush, and then I'm bringing in the cobalt blue with a hint of rose madder. You don't have to cover every inch of paper with paint. You can leave a few little glimpses of white paper showing through. Gives the impression of clouds. I'm just mixing a touch more of the cobalt blue and rose madder. A bit more of that in at the top. And then I'm picking up that grey mixture, bringing that in from the top. If you can make the sky slightly darker at the top, getting lighter towards the horizon, it helps with that feeling of aerial perspective. Taking it right across the buildings, right through the London Eye. A touch more grey. I think we can go fairly strong at the top of the scene. Making the marks smaller as we get nearer to the horizon. And then we'll leave that to dry. So now that the sky's dry, I'm going to paint in the silhouetted buildings right across the distance. It's important when you do this that you use the same colours that we just used for the sky. I've got a number 4 brush with a really fine point, and I'm starting with a little bit of the cobalt blue and rose madder, just like I used in the sky. And I'm working from this left-hand side, behind the London Eye, just putting some loose shapes in. What we're doing with this distance isn't a lot of detail, it's a suggestion more than anything. At the lower part, to give it a sort of glow that echoes the glow in the sky, I'm dropping in some of the light red and Naples yellow. And a touch of that grey mixture as well. This is the same grey I used in the sky, the cobalt blue, rose madder and burnt sienna. And working my way gradually over to the right hand side. Let's do a bit more with the cobalt blue and rose madder. There's little towers, little chimneys, all sorts of detail, but you don't have to worry about being too accurate and get every little detail in it. Really at this stage, because it's the distance and we want to make it look like it's distant, we don't want to overdo the detail. It's a suggestion more than anything. Hint of the Naples yellow and light red, and a hint of the grey. Taking advantage of that really fine point of the brush. Keeping the colours nice and pale so they do look distant. A bit more of the Naples yellow and light red. Again, just keeping these shapes really fine and giving us that silhouetted appearance. The importance of using the same colours as the sky becomes clear because it all harmonises with the rest of the picture and it sets it well back in the distance. Okay, so we're now on to Big Ben. I've got that grey mixture. And again, it's important to keep it as a silhouette. I'm trying to leave these little circles out for the clock. Rather than paint them, I'm just leaving those as white paper. The grey's getting slightly stronger as I get lower down. And then carrying on with the rooftops, chimneys, etc. Allowing the grey to mix and merge with the Naples yellow and light red. Come in behind the boat. Just observing the little details and taking care to simplify all the time as well. Drop some more grey in. Now there are a few trees along the embankment there, so while that background's still wet, I'm making a mixture of cobalt blue and burnt sienna. A little bit stronger and a bit more brown this time. Still with the number 4 brush, I'm dropping some of that in behind the boat. And these just run along the embankment there. And it's important to time this right. You need to get this in before those previous colours have dried. so that you just get that soft shape to represent the trees, contrasted with the hard shape that represents the buildings. And then that needs a bit of time to dry.